welcome to Board of Intermediate Education virtual classes. As a part of Zoology first year in the unit Ecology and Environment, we are discussing about the influence of the abiotic factors. In previous class we discussed about the influence of light, and in today's class we are going to take up another abiotic factor, that is the temperature. Temperature can be defined as a measure of intensity of heat. And the temperature variations are more on land when compared to the water or aquatic medium because of the important phenomena known as differential heating. The land loses as well as gains heat very quickly when compared to the water. Water cools as well as heated up very slowly, and this is known as the differential heating. So the gain or loss of heat in case of land is quick when compared to the water. It is a very slow process, and this is known as differential heating. And the temperature variations also vary according to the seasons as well as the geography. So these depend on the season as well as the geographical conditions. And the temperature varies also according to the elevation or altitude. We know that the mountain regions will have less temperature when compared to the lower regions. So the elevation or the altitude also influences the temperature. When we move from equator to the poles, the temperature gets slowly decreased. And this is about the preliminary information regarding the temperature, and we will see what are the different types of influences of this abiotic factor, that is the temperature, on the organisms. So the first point is the effect of temperature in lakes. In temperate regions, the changes of the temperature or the variation in the temperature depends on the seasonal variations. So according to the seasons, the temperature varies. And these seasonal variations leads to the formation of different layers in the lakes, and this is known as the thermal stratification. And another important aspect is anomalous expansion of water. So this property of water is At 4 degrees centigrade, water shows maximum density. If you draw a diagram on the basing on the temperature and the density, so at 4 degrees centigrade, water shows the maximum density, and this property of water is known as the anomalous expansion of water. And these two factors, that is the temperature variation according to the seasons and the anomalous expansion of water, leads to the formation of the thermal stratification in lakes. We will see what is this thermal stratification according to the temperature changes in the temperate regions of the temperate regions. So we are now discussing about the thermal stratification in temperate regions. So in summer, the temperature of the lake is high, and it leads to the formation of thermal layers. Thermal layers means the lake, in the lake we can find 3 different layers, and the temperature varies considerably in all these 3 layers. The upper layer is known as the epilimnion, in which the temperature is around 21 to 25 degrees centigrade. And the second layer is metalimnion, or it is also known as thermocline. And in this region we can see a variation of 1 degree centigrade decreases for every 1 meter depth. That means if we go down in this region, for every 1 meter of the depth, 1 degree centigrade will be decreased. And the third layer is known as the hypolimnion. And hypolimnion is relatively cool, and it is having no oxygen. This is very important. No oxygen will be available in this region because of no photosynthesis. So no photosynthesis occur because the light cannot penetrate to the bottom layer, and because of this we don't have the availability of oxygen here. And these three layers in the summer can be identified as the epilimnion, the metalimnion, the middle one, and the lower one known as the hypolimnion. But after the summer arrives the autumn season. Autumn, or we can also call it as a fall, where the plants shed their leaves. During this period, this upper layer, which is having 21 to 25 degrees centigrade, the temperature decreases, and because of this temperature decreases, the density of water will be increased. At 4 degrees centigrade, we have already said the water shows the maximum density, and because of this, the increase in the density of water at 4 degrees centigrade, the upper layer becomes heavy, and this upper layer will move towards the downwards. It moves downwards, and in the lower region, the hypolimnion, since the epilimnion region comes down because of its heavy density, and it brings some oxygen because it is in contact with the environment. So the oxygen rich epilimnion comes to the downward region, and the hypolimnion region, which is having nutrients, so it is having nutrients, it will be moving towards the upper region, and this circulation of oxygen rich material from the upper region to the lower region, and the nutrients from the lower region to the upper region, and this cyclical or the circulation is known as summer overturn, or we can say autumn overturn. So autumn overturn makes the oxygen rich upper layer to come towards the lower region, and the nutrients rich lower region moves to the upper region. So thus there is a equal distribution of oxygen and nutrients during this autumn, and this is known as the autumn overturn. So the next one is the winter stratification. In winter stratification, we can see the upper layer is completely freezed because of low temperatures. So in the winter, what happens? The upper region is around 0 degrees centigrade and it is completely freezes. But below this layer, still there is a life exists because it is around 4 degrees centigrade. At 4 degrees centigrade, the animals can live because of the availability of nutrients. So even though the upper layer freezes, the animals can live below this layer because of the temperature is around the 4 degrees centigrade. And how these animals are able to live under these extreme conditions? Because at low temperatures, the microbial activity is very less, and not only that, the metabolic rate of the aquatic animals is also low because of the low temperature. And for this reason, because of these reasons, even though there is a freezing of the upper layer, there is no oxygen available to the lower regions, but still the aquatic animals can survive because of the low oxygen, low microbial activity, and because of this the oxygen will be less consumed, so this oxygen will be utilized by the aquatic animals. And also the metabolic activity is also very low, so they can use the oxygen that is available for quite some time. But after the winter season, what happens? The spring comes, and during the spring the temperature rises to 4 degrees centigrade, and the upper layer will melt, and this at 4 degrees centigrade the upper layer will again come down by bringing the oxygen rich materials, and the nutrients that are available in the lower region will be circulated to the upper region, and thus there is a circulation of oxygen and nutrients, just like in the summer stratification or autumn overturn, and this circulation is known as spring overturn. And the lakes which show the two overturns, that means they show the circulations at twice in a year, are known as dimictic lakes. So this is about the thermal stratification in the temperate regions. So the next aspect is the temperature tolerance, and not all the animals can survive at higher temperatures, and some animals or a very few animals survive the wide variations in the temperature, and these animals which can survive the wide variations in the temperature are known as eurythermal animals or eurythermal organisms. So eurythermal organisms will survive only a few, this is very important, only very few animals are able to survive the wide variations of the temperature, but most of the animals will survive only in a narrow range of temperature variations, and such animals which can survive in a very low variation of the temperature are known as the stenothermal animals. And majority of the animals majority of the animals are stenothermal in nature, and this tolerance of the temperature actually determines the distribution of animals on the earth. So this temperature tolerance has a direct influence on the distribution of animals. And next, another important one is the impact or the influence of temperature on metabolism. We know that all the body activities are controlled by certain enzymes. So the metabolic rate directly influenced by the temperature, because all the enzymes will work within a range of temperature. If the temperature is low, the metabolic activities will be low. If the temperature is high, the metabolic activities will not so much high, because the enzymes are able to work within a range, a narrow range of temperature, because all these are catalysts in the metabolic reactions. Optimum temperature means the temperature at which the metabolic activities will be at climax is known as the optimum temperature. So at optimum temperature, the metabolic or metabolism will be at climax, so the maximum. And minimum effective temperature. Minimum effective temperature means the temperature or the lowest temperature. It is the lowest temperature at which the animals can live indefinitely or they can survive. So lowest temperature at which the animals live indefinitely. So that temperature is known as minimum effective temperature. If the temperature falls below this minimum effective temperature, the animals enter into a stage of inactiveness known as chill coma. A coma means an inactive stage, and it is at lowest temperature. So this inactiveness or the stage is known as the chill coma. So next one is the maximum effective temperature. So in opposite to this minimum effective temperature, the maximum effective temperature is the highest temperature at which the animals can live. Indefinitely. So if the temperature increases above this maximum effective temperature, the animals enter into a stage known as heat coma. Heat coma means the temperature, if goes beyond this maximum effective temperature, they will enter into a stage of inactiveness. So this is an inactive stage, and this is known as heat coma. And if you see, the metabolic rates increases from the optimum temperature, from the minimum effective temperature to the optimum temperature. So this how the metabolic rates increases if we move from the minimum effective temperature to the optimum temperature the metabolic rate increases. And beyond this optimum temperature, there is a maximum effective temperature, that is the highest temperature at which animals can live. And beyond this maximum effective temperature, they enter into an inactive stage known as heat coma. And this maximum effective temperature will vary in different animals. So the next topic is the Van 't Hoff's rule. Van 't Hoff's rule says that for every 10 degrees rise in the temperature, the metabolic rate doubles. So it's a relation between the temperature. It says about the relation between the temperature and the metabolic rate. So for every 10 degrees rise in the temperature, the metabolic rate doubles. And this can be expressed by a formula known as a Q10. This is known as coefficient of temperature. What this Q10 says, for example, the Q10 value is a ratio between the rate of reaction at x degrees centigrade to the rate of reaction at x minus 10 degrees centigrade. We know that the metabolic rate, or we can say the rate of reaction, the rate of reaction means the speed with which the chemical reaction occurs. For example, if you try to calculate the rate of reaction at x degrees centigrade and the rate of reaction at x minus 10 degrees centigrade, according to the Van 't Hoff's rule, for every 10 degrees rise in temperature, the metabolic rate doubles. That means the Q10 value will be 2. For every 10 degrees rise, you can have a doubling of the coefficient of temperature. So this is what the Van 't Hoff rule says. So the another important aspect in this temperature is the cyclomorphosis. Cyclomorphosis can be defined as a cyclic seasonal changes in the morphological characters of the animals. So according to the seasonal change, there is a change in the morphological character, and these changes are cyclic. Example is Daphnia. It is also known as the water flea. So we shall see how these morphological characters of the Daphnia changes according to the seasons. You see, Daphnia This is the Daphnia, and it has a round head. In winter season, the head shows the round structure. It is a round in structure, and it is also known as non-helmet structure or typical form of or general form of the Daphnia. But when the season changes to the spring, so during the spring, a small helmet will start appearing around this head region, and it shows the maximum length at summer. So during the summer, this helmet will be in maximum size. So the helmet size will be maximum. And next, when it enters into autumn, the helmet starts reducing. We can see a helmet form. So this is the helmet, and by the autumn the size of this helmet starts reducing, and by the time it reaches the winter, it has again there is no helmet. So this is known as the non-helmet or the typical form, in which the head shows the round structure, and this is the helmet form, where we can see a helmet like structure around the head, and the helmet will have a maximum size during the summer, and this is known as the cyclomorphosis. And what is the reason for this cyclomorphosis? Let us see. During the winter, the density of water will be very high. So there is no problem of floating on the water. So floating will be no issue for this Daphnia. But as the temperature increases, by the time at summer, the density of water will be very less, and in order to float on the water, it needs to increase its surface area. So in order to increase the surface area of the body, there is a need for helmet like structure. So during the summer period, the helmet will have a maximum size, and during the winter, when there is no problem with the floating, and helmet will not be appearing. So this is how, in order to float on the water, there is a need for helmet, and it starts building up a helmet by the time it reaches the summer, and by the time of winter, helmet will be removed or it is reduced. And we can say, for better floating as well as movements in the water. So this is a adaptation for efficient movement, or you can say the efficient management of the water currents. So these are the some important aspects of the influence of temperature on the organisms. We have discussed about the thermal stratification in the temperate regions, the summer stratification and the winter stratification, and we discussed about the temperature tolerance, the eurythermal animals, the stenothermal animals, the importance of the temperature impact on the metabolism, the Van 't Hoff's rule, and the cyclomorphosis. So this is a very important topic for the IP examination also, and we will continue the temperature in the next class.